Alright, hello, welcome to another tutorial here on the Korg Minilogue. It's a sound design tutorial, but I think it could be interesting even if you don't own the Korg Minilogue. So in today's video we are going to make what I call an epic lead sound. You could even call it a keys type sound. And it's the kind of lead sounds that is featured on my new pack with Minilogue presets that you can check out. The link is in the description. And I will utilize the effects section and I will try and show you how to create what I think is a well-sounding lead or keys sound without any external effects. So we will utilize some different tips and tricks here on the Korg Minilogue in order to do that. So we start here with an initialized preset. And what I usually do is I use the first oscillator here and I pitch it up. Just one octave. So that when I bring in the second oscillator, I get a broader sound. But we start with the first oscillator. Now the first thing we have to think about is the waveform. Should we have the sawtooth or the triangle or the square? So for this I think we'll start with the triangle, the middle one. When I make a lead sound, the first thing I like to do is kind of shape the curve of the sound. So I increase the attack a bit, I decrease the decay and the sustain, but I increase the release to about 1 or 2 o'clock. You can even add some more decay and sustain as well. So as you can hear, with the decay and sustain, you basically decide how long. It's not how long it is. It's more how much body will the sound have until it fades away, and the release kind of decides how fast it'll fade away. Turn the release down. So now we have the sustain at about 1 o'clock, the release about 2 o'clock, and the decay about 1 o'clock. Now the second thing I like to do is to cut some bass, and I usually start by applying a little bit of resonance. So let's try it quarter 2. If we increase it, you can hear. You get the kind of resonant feel, but also drop some bass. So quarter 2 I think is pretty good. A good thing now is to check the shape of the first oscillator here and see how we like it. So with the triangle here I wouldn't go past 12 o'clock because it becomes so brittle, but say 20 minutes to. Now next up I'd like to work a little bit with the cutoff here, just using the filter. And what I do here is I find like the lowest point. How low do I want the filter to cut? Because then I will increase the velocity. I usually go by 100% to add expression, and I add key track, 50% of key tracking. Now we can also listen if we want the 2-pole or 4-pole options for the filter. Usually for a lead type sound you want some high end, so I think the 2-pole is a lot better for this. As you can hear, it has more high end. I think the 4-pole in general is a little bit better for pads, giving that warmer feel. So over on the delay section you have the 3 options. You can bypass it, you can use it pre-filter or post-filter. I use the post-filter for lead sounds. And I use the high-pass cutoff here. Let's try about 10-2. We can even add some more. Now you can hear how it cuts a lot of the bass frequencies. So what about the time and feedback? Well, in general, in order to create kind of reverby feel, I use the time set to about 2 o'clock somewhere, and the feedback, say, a little lower, say 11 o'clock. Let's try that. If we increase the feedback, you'll hear that it becomes much more of a delay. And it gives a roomy feel. So let's try 1 o'clock here. And what I found is using the high pass cutoff and the resonance together here, just applying a little bit more, makes that sound is contained in the sense that you don't get too big of a epic lead sound. So in that sense you get this more reverby type sound, which I think is really cool. So for now we're just using the one oscillator. But let's try and add another one here. So let's turn oscillator 2 up. And suddenly you get something totally different. But let's try and use a triangle for this one as well, but we'll set the shape to, say, to a more, I talked a bit about going past 12 o'clock, then you get the brittle feel, and we turn down the volume of the second oscillator in the mixer. So now we have to remember that the second oscillator is set to a lower octave. So if we increase it, we can even go one higher. So I think this is really interesting. Now we're using the second oscillator as the kind of higher harmonics. And that's important to note because we have the modulation for the second oscillator. So if we want to use, for example, a pitch, e.g. intensity here, we have to think about how we are actually using VCO number 2 here. Usually I use VCO number 2 as the fundament of the track, but it depends. It depends largely on what I want to achieve. So I'll try and show you a little bit here. So for example, if we want to apply a little bit of pitch, e.g. intensity, if we apply a lot, it'll sound pretty horrid. Or pretty cool, depending on what you want. Or minus, if we go negative. But let's just apply a little bit. So I think we'll go with plus 10 cents. If we increase it to plus, say, 29, you start hearing the pitch a lot more. So we can keep it around, say, 15. And now we can use the mixer here, turn it down a little bit more. Using chords is a good way to see if it works. We are still keeping the harmonics intact. It's still not over the top. You can also try adding cross-step modulation. I've tried to explain what that is, but to no avail. I just think of it as adding even more detuning. So for this you can hear when we go up to about 20, like just about 10%, I'd say, you start hearing it. So now we have a pretty rich sound, I'd say. What next? Well, we can always try and use the sync. But the sync removes the kind of pitch effect that we got here with the pitch intensity knob here. We can also do ring modulation. which gives it this more hollow type sound. Now, next up, I want to add a little bit of a pitch modulation. So I set the rate of the LFO here to about 1 o'clock, so it's a pretty high rate and just a smidge of intensity. You can hear if I turn up. So not more than 10%. And if I increase the attack here, you'll notice how it changes. Especially if I set it to intensity on the EG mod here. Basically, when we've added the attack, you can hear that let's see if I turn the intensity up here. And I turn the attack up. With the attack turned all the way up, you see that the modulation of the pitch comes in a lot later. That's good because you don't want all that modulation on exact moment that you hit the key, because it's often not very pleasant to the ear. So if I just apply a little bit of intensity to the pitch modulation here. So I set the attack to about 11 o'clock. This means that you'll be getting the kind of clean sound when you press the key. And the modulation and the pitch EG intensity affects the sound more over time. And in my pad tutorial, you can see this much more closely in my Minilogue pad tutorial, because it's much more evident in that one. So of course, if you want to contain the sound even more, use the resonance, use the high pass cutoff in order to shape the sound further. We can even add some cutoff, we can take away some of the bass. You know, small differences. I'm just going to save it for now and we can move on. Should we add some noise to it? Yeah, maybe. For a solo type sound, I do think adding some noise can sound really good. And remember, you can easily make this into kind of a pad sound if you just increase the attack, decay, sustain and release a bit more. But we'll go into that in another video. So what is left to consider? Well, we can always pitch the oscillators a little bit. So usually I go for like +5 cents and -5 cents, spreading it out a bit. So we have used the filter section, we have used the amp EG, the LFO a bit here, we've used the delay, we have used the mixer section and the VCOs and the modulation here to create what I think is a pretty epic and living sound. Let's bring it up an octave. And if we think the sound is too long, just decrease the release time. I really enjoy it. And we can try and add some more key tracking as well. I think that sounded pretty good. From here you have kind of a template. You could go everywhere. If you want more of a keys type sound, you can just Try and lower a little bit the octaves here. Maybe shorten the release a bit. Increase some sustain. Maybe shorten the attack. Something like that. Or doing a pad, we can just go crazy with the attack and everything. Maybe add some more attack to the amp envelope generator as well. Or the envelope generator. But of course you will have to check the pitch here, the pitch modulation here, as well as the pitch on the oscillators when you're changing up the sound like I did. Because of course different type sounds might affect the pitch differently. When you approach it, you add some attack, you add some decay and sustain release, and suddenly when you try and make a pad, you know, the settings you have here might not sound as good. And I do think working with the filter here, turning it down just a little bit, is what we need. Making the velocity and key tracking here more noticeable. And of course you can use this polypatch in duo mode and unison mode as well, but I do not think they sound as good. So if we take unison, for example, and we turn it up to about 10 here. If you're using it in the unison mode, I think bypassing the filter is good. And suddenly you have a lot more click as well, so I'm not sure. I'm not really sure about that. And the other modes I don't think really are usable for this one here. So guys, this was my tutorial on how to make what I call an epic lead or keys type sound here on the Korg Minilogue. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more videos like it and you like this one, please hit the like button because it helps my channel out a lot. And if you want to support this channel even more, you can check out my Patreon over on patreon.com/bowbeats. Now, even €1 a month helps me out a lot. I guess that's like a half a cup of coffee or something, depending on where you are at. So that helps me out a lot. And thank you so much for all the support over on Patreon. I'm very grateful, and I hope you have a super pleasant day. Thank you.